All right. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to Inside the Huddle.
Yeah.
Today we have an interesting topic because Inside the Huddle, of course, is a play on football, a game. And today we're talking about games that make it fun and make us better agents. Good point, Steve. Thank you. We got to start doing this in person just so we can have more fun with each other.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm just admiring that you got that sultry, textured voice for the morning. They're putting me.
Jeez.
I hope we're not putting everyone to sleep this early.
I don't know if my wife's on. I like sultry voice better than what she calls it. That raspy voice of yours. Get out of here.
I'm trying to be nice. No, games are important. Hey, it's all about, I think what we're going to talk about today is going into like the film room. And if there was a camera on you, in certain situations where you're making contact with your client, are you representing yourself at the highest possible level? Are you performing at your best? And unfortunately, unlike football or other sports, we don't have cameras that give us that feedback or sit down with a coach and say, what were you thinking when you said that? Or did you not observe the body language of your client? You're not operating at a state of awareness of where you need to be.
Did you not see that linebacker turn in the corner?
Yeah, right. It was coming to greet you. So, or you break an assignment. You think you think you've got everything figured out. You take a shortcut and you end up in a ditch. Which is just as important. I learned that from Coach Bill McCartney, University of Colorado coach, former Michigan defensive coordinator, who, when he was at Colorado, had the highest net average for his special teams. He talked about how everyone has a role and everyone needs to execute the role and execute. So this is really about execution. I think these games are about getting people game ready so that when they're hit or put in certain situations, they have a reflexive response to the challenge, not where they're reaching, looking unprepared, right?
Right, absolutely. And one of the things what we're going to share with you guys is 5 or 6 games you can play in the office. And one of the things I like about it, Steve, is that this makes it fun because no matter what the outside world thinks who haven't gone into real estate yet, it's a hard job. Yeah. It's a very difficult job. People learn that, right? When they come in and say, oh, I make all that money and have free time, and they think this is some vacation job, and it's not.
Yeah.
So we got to bring some fun into it. We got to remember that we are having fun and helping people. And these games are things you can practice with other agents. And it not only will hone your skills in specific areas of real estate, but you'll be able to laugh and you'll build up rapport with the agents in your office. So that's what I like about these best. You're getting better and enjoying it. You're not doing gassers up and down the field wondering, why does my coach hate me?
Right.
So here's the first one. And this comes out of most of us have gone to or participated in brokers opens, where you go and you present your property and then you have agents come through. It's very important. Oftentimes I was there and I would see the person get up and literally get in front of everybody and do this. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot. I can see that already. That's written right in front of me in the things that you already handed out. Stop that.
In the MLS, that's what you're reading the copy. That's all you're doing.
Right. Here's an opportunity to actually do something to hooks an agent, gets an agent to remember your property. So the first game is just the 45-second home pitch. In the office with another agent, you got a listing. They have a listing. Say you got 45 seconds. Hook this property. Don't just pitch it. Use that word. Hook this property. And there's 2 things that I recommend. It could be Steve, you may have different ideas, but either tell me something unique, right? Every home has something that's different, good or bad, doesn't matter, but it's memorable. Or even how the current owners bought it or why they're selling it. Anything that's shareable, of course, and that's interesting. That when agents leave, they're going to remember that, and they're going to remember your property of the 8 to 10, 12 that got pitched.
That's exactly right.
The other, what? Go ahead.
I was going to say the only comment I made. It's just that when you go to a pitch and you say, if you've ever had a client looking for a horse property, this is it. If you've ever had a client looking for the ocean view, with a master, whatever the feature is. If you lead with that, that's the stickiest part of your dialogue.
Right, it's sticky.
So that if someone in the crowd has someone they're working with a horse property, regardless if your home's even in the right area, they're going to reach out to you. I mean, it's going to connect, because that's what the key feature benefit of the buyers that they're working with. That's what they're looking to hear. That's what they're looking to find, right?
And
so
I love you said that.
Yeah.
Feature benefit. It's not just the horse property. It's the horse property for people who have wonderful horses that will enjoy this extra space, so their horses will be happier.
Right.
Turn it into a benefit that, again, hooks them.
Yeah, because there's not a one of us on this call, Sean, that after that comment, if properly strategically placed, will remember a single word that the person's about the square footage, number of bedrooms, baths. We won't hear that. Have you seen, there's a video that went around where they call it, it's a scientific thing where you can have somebody, it'll say, if this was making the rounds recently, count how many times that person caught the white ball. And there are people passing white balls and black balls. And in the middle of this video, pops in like a gorilla, a person in a gorilla suit. And it's proven that roughly 70% of the people watching that video won't even see that. And it's walking right through the frame, acting like a fool. And no one, it's called intentional blindness. So when you have that need that you're looking for something, you're blind to everything else. That's why this is so important. And I'll share that video with anyone. I'll get the link.
Yeah, put the link up. It's semi-ruined now because you've heard it, but play it for your friends and ask them. And watch how many people, they'll give you a number. So how many times was the ball passed?
Right.
13, 15. Oh, and then they'll then say, now, what did the bear do?
Right.
The bear. What are you talking about? The bear.
Exactly.
Then play it again, and it's right there. I mean, it hangs out on screen. It's not like ducking in and out.
It's making no funny
dancing. Right. Okay, so that's what a hook is.
Yeah.
Good example of a hook.
Yeah.
The other one, and I want to move on past this, is ideal buyer. If you don't have something interesting about the house, describe the ideal buyer. This home is probably someone who's in the contracting business and has to park a lot of trucks and needs a place to put their gear and then security for this and there, but their kids like this school. Whatever it is, be careful. I know we got to stay careful of fair housing laws, but if you describe that person, the agent who's sitting there eating their donut and drinking the coffee and visiting, and they're there for a reason, but they're also socializing. All of a sudden they go, that's George. Oh my gosh, that's George. I got to call George. Now they're going to remember the property. Okay, and if you want to have an advanced version of that game, walk up to an agent in your office and hand them a random property and say, 45 seconds, pitch it. Because that works our creativity, right? We have to be creative in this business. And that's not a talent you're born with. Creativity is a skill you practice. Okay, the next one I have for Steve is, would you buy it if? The would you buy it if game is especially good for working with buyers. And we're going back right to the creativity, we tend to be so linear. When I work with a buyer, I say to them, I know your fear. I know most of my clients are afraid that, the agent's going to ask every time, do you want to buy this house? And I want to alleviate that fear right now. I am going to ask you every single time, do you want to buy this house? That's my job, is to find out what you like and what you don't like so I can narrow it down each time. And then when you ask them, you'll be surprised how one-dimensional it is. Yeah, this house has a lot, really, but the kitchen. I just don't like the kitchen.
Right.
We automatically go into the game. Well, would you buy it if the kitchen were a different color? Would you buy it if the cabinets were replaced? Would you buy it if we had different countertops? Because you might have a client with a $50,000 spread, right, in the price range they're looking at. Well, I can get the kitchen redone for $10,000, $15,000. Everything else is there, but unless we bring it up, unless we think outside the lines, they're just going to say pass, and we keep going, and we look at 20 homes.
I think an agent will sell, and I believe wholeheartedly you'll sell an extra 2 houses a year minimum. If you ask the question after every showing, can you see yourself living in this home at any price? Because I learned a long time ago, that criticism is a buyer inflection. It is a buying signal. A lot of times a buyer will come in and start ripping a house apart. And when I was new, I didn't pick up on this. And I just said, I just wanted to move on. I couldn't get out of there. And after hearing this negative talk, it looked as if I was more anxious to leave and get on to the next home than they were. They were still in there kind of lingering around. And I'm like, well, if you don't want this house, you don't think this is the right house for you, let's just get on with it. But no, they were still taking their time coming through. And it wasn't until probably my third year in real estate that it dawned on me that that's a buying signal. And had I asked that question 2 years earlier, I probably would have sold an extra house or two, you know.
Let's, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, because a buying signal is an old school. I don't know if that's even taught anymore. There's ones that are obvious, or maybe it should be obvious. Sitting down is a buying signal. When people go into a home and they sit in the furniture, that's a buying signal. Touching is a buying signal. Touching the mantle, touching the cabinets. That's an indication. It's like a tell in poker. That's a buying signal. Lingering is a buying signal. The one that most people don't realize is saying what they don't like. That's a buying signal, right? It's like the old thing we learned. The opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is apathy. Hate has the same amount of emotion. I really don't like this house because of the front door. That's a buying signal. They like this house. They don't like the front door. Would you buy it if we replace the door? Would you buy it at this price? The way to get comfortable doing that, though, is with this game, though, right, Steve? Play this game. It doesn't have to be a house. You could walk up to people in your office and say, would you buy this lunch I brought in for $50? No, I'm not going to pay $50 for your sandwich in a paper bag. Well, would you buy it if I threw in a bag of chips? Would you buy it if I brought you a soda? Would you buy it if it were a ham and cheese instead of a peanut butter and jelly? Explore. Just play the game and explore with each other and get good at asking the question.
Well, the game is really a process, isn't it, though, just as much. So if you got into the habit and process of after each showing, because again, not to take us down a rabbit hole, but I always believed in showing the cream puff first. There are different variations of when the cream puff should show up on the day you're showing property. But I always tried to show it first, which was counterintuitive to what some people do, which is to show it last, thinking, okay, we finally found it. But in my world, if I showed the cream puff first, everything didn't measure up afterward. It allowed me to pivot back and get something on paper. But if I was right, one of the ways to check my ability as a consultant and pinpointing their needs was to say, if these were, I show the first property, I get feedback. Could you see yourself living in this home at any price? Yes, we love it. It's just great. Second showing, between these two houses, if you had to choose one, which would you choose and why? Right? And okay, so we're going to need to look at the third house. Yes, we'd like to look at the third house. Between house one and house three, same question, same game. If you had to choose between these two properties, house number one, house number three, which would you choose and why? And I tell you, that little game or that process, that system, helped me to help buyers make a decision quicker, faster, and without regret, I might add. The chance of cutting down buyers' remorse is substantial when they're the ones making the decision right there, right now, not something they're lingering on after they get home and they're trying to pick which house was best.
And you're actually helping them make a decision. Yeah. And that's part of what we have to remember. Underlying a lot of what goes on is fear. The client would rather not make a decision in almost all instances because it's scary. Buying a home is scary. Selling a home is scary.
Right.
Accepting you as their agent is scary. It always comes, any decision comes with fear. You're using processes not to manipulate. You're never going to manipulate someone to buying or selling a home.
No.
What you're doing is helping them get past their fear and make a good decision.
Right.
A no regrets decision. I've noticed in the notes when we're talking about would you buy it if, Liz put up green eggs and ham. A great sales book. It just doesn't stop asking the question, would you eat it if we did this? Would you eat it here? Would you eat it with that? That's the game right there.
Amen.
Okay, the same lines, this is a game more for sellers, but it's designed to discover needs. So you'd walk up to someone in your office and say, sell me this pen. Sell me this pen. And your job as the one receiving the pen in this game is to figure out a need that I have that would require that pen. So you could take a pen and say, would you buy this pen for $100? No, I'm not going to buy that pen for $100. Well, tell me what you do for a living. Where would you be? How do you interact with? Do you meet with clients? Do you do luxury? You do luxury. Has it ever mattered how you present yourself? What if you were sitting with a client on a $2 million purchase and you pulled out this pen, this gold-plated pen? Could that make the difference between them wanting to sign with you and not sign with you? What's the commission on that? $50,000. So a $100 pen sounds like a good deal. But you have to explore things until you find a reason for them to buy the pen, which is exactly what we do with sellers, right? We have to explore the needs to know why they're actually selling the home so that we can help them get past their fears and hire us to do it. That's a particular favorite of mine. And it's an easy one in the office. You will laugh trying to figure out why someone should overpay for a pen.
Yeah. What's particularly powerful during the pricing exercise. So when you're getting down to price and the seller's unrealistic, or like I've been talking about now, we have a pending shift, I think. Now, I don't know when it's going to hit us, if it's even going to hit us that hard, but I have no doubt a shift is coming. Now, we could be 6 months out, we could be 60 days out, we could be 6 weeks out, who knows? But we need to start giving ourselves the best opportunity for success and setting up a dialogue around that. Now, you know, if you're talking about a pen, it would be something of a seller needs, that if they couldn't achieve the need or their objectives, what would the loss, what would losing that, what kind of uncomfort, or what would it do to their plans if that manifested?
Right.
Back to like the fear of loss is the greater motivator than any gain. That's a fact. And
Right.
I think that, like, if in the pen analogy, if I were presenting or if let's say I had a marker for remember those overhead projectors where people who would present would sketch on those with those dry erase markers, what have you. Let's just say you were showing up to an event and your luggage was lost, and you've got 5,000 people in an auditorium waiting for your presentation. If I had one of those in my hand, you pay $100 for that
In a moment.
around.
Right.
So you use this game, you think about what is it that if it was lost would negatively impact your client, and then start the game around that. And then really it's about just trying to get them to emotionally connect to that potential loss so that they make an intelligent, informed decision. You're not manipulating anybody. You're trying to get them clearly focused on their needs and what would happen if it doesn't manifest.
Right. And Melanie mentioned it. By the way, everybody, when you get a chance, go in and read Brian's comment. I wouldn't share that with a client, but he used we could redo the kitchen, and then it cost him a boatload of money with his wife. But Melanie mentioned the would you rather, and along the same line, Steve, because most people start at no. We start in a defensive, closed no position, especially when there's big decisions in sales, heck, in anything. When I would teach, Steve, when I would coach kids in sports, like imagine a 10-year-old going up to bat. You know what's in their head? I'm not swinging unless it's the perfect pitch. They're starting from no. And we would work really hard to get them go to 180 degrees. I am swinging at everything except a bad pitch, because they have a lot more hits when they go up thinking swing instead of don't swing. But most of us, we're just like our 10-year-old self. I'm going to start with no.
That's such
help them get at it.
Such a good point. They've done studies, by the way, on coaches in baseball and they finally figured this out through sports psychology and really neuroscience and what have you. That when coaches would go up to the pitcher, you know, when you see a pitching coach walk out to the mound because a power hitter's up and it's a really strenuous situation, maybe the bases are loaded and the game's on the line, ninth, whatever. Well, the coach would walk up. Most pitching coaches would walk up and say, "Look, Sean Purcell, this guy likes the ball down and in. Don't throw him a down and in fastball. Whatever you do, don't throw the ball down and in. Or he likes it up high midsection. Don't throw it high midsection." And the pitchers was walking up the line. The next pitch is that pitch.
Yep.
While the pitcher's thinking in his mind is what not to do. And so what they've learned is tell the pitcher, in this instance, where you want that next pitch to go. You direct the pitch. You don't tell him what not to do or her what not to do if it's a game of softball, let's say. Well,
you're getting into this is an interesting aspect of psychology, but our subconscious, the negative doesn't exist. When you say don't do this, all the subconscious hears is this.
That's it.
There's no positive negative.
Because it's a negative, it just circles in your head.
Right. Whenever you're taking a high-speed corner, whatever you do, don't look at the wall.
Right.
Everybody looks at the wall the first time. You have to help them.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one, this one's great for us as agents. The game is walk up to an agent you know in the office, say, why should I work with you?
Yeah.
And then look at your clock, 30 seconds. What's your elevator pitch? What's your USP?
So
What's your value, your differentiator, right? Your differentiator, Steve.
so important.
We got to be able to explain that and convey it authentically. It can't just be a pitch that you learn somewhere, a script. It's got to be you talking.
Yeah, and what I see most of the times, all of a sudden, agents look like they're on a hot plate dancing around the question. They get really uncomfortable. You know, one of the things I learned, Sean, and it's kind of along these lines, but it's just how I would approach it. If I had 30 seconds to say, Wayne Miller, I see him on the call. Wayne walks up to me and says, Steve, I got to sell my house. I'm interviewing 3 agents. I meet Wayne in an elevator. He says, why should I hire you? And I said, my response would be, Wayne, if I've got 30 seconds to answer that question, I have one question I'd like to ask first. And that is, what's most important to you in determining who the right person will be for the job? What is it that you value most in someone that you're looking to hire for that job? And he might say, not so fast, buddy guy, you first. But most will tell you.
Wayne, come on, man. Don't be that way.
Yeah, you speak to that. You address that concern. So anyway, that's just one tip I have, rather than just starting to, regurgitate or you want to have your canned speech, no question. But if you ask that question first, you can speak specifically to a need and not to inattention.
I would suggest you have a why you do what you do, what it is you do, and then how it benefits the person you're talking to. Those would be the 3 steps.
Yeah.
But the point of doing this with a professional, with another agent in your office, is they can say, that sounds like every agent I've ever met. Oh man, I need to work on that. You can give each other critique. Once you're out talking to a real person, whatever you have is what you have. And this is something we want to really be able to convey from the heart, authentically. Because that's what people buy, right? They buy your passion.
Right. And in your 30-second elevator pitch, if you had a mission statement, you'd lead with that. Well, before I get started, Wayne, listen, as you're looking at it for a broker to hire, first thing I want to start with is my personal mission statement, which is to be a learning-based person on the path of self-mastery while developing other people. And so for you specifically, what are you looking for in a coach or as a sales manager that would help you get to the next level? Or what is it in your business now that's lacking that if you had it, you feel you'd be able to get to the next level? And then I'm just going to speak to that. So,
one of my favorites, for those who haven't read, go read Start With Why by Simon Sinek. But the example he uses of Apple, of Steve Jobs, if you would run into Steve Jobs in an elevator and said, what do you do? His elevator pitch would have been, well, I want to change the way people think, the way they learn, the way they communicate. I want to put a dent in the universe. By the way, I make computers. They're really good. This is why I'm doing what I do. This is how I do it. This is how it's going to benefit you. That's a pitch. So anyway, practice that with each other.
And after Steve Jobs says that, he just sits back. Are there any other questions?
Right. We're very clear now. You brought this up earlier. Another fun game to play is the feature benefit game. Walk up to an agent and say, this house has 4 bedrooms. And their job is now to turn that into a benefit. That's a feature. And we, especially as salespeople, as agents, we have to get out of the habit of speaking in features. 4 bedrooms doesn't mean anything. It's just a feature. Why is that a benefit? Do you work from home? Do you need office space? Is your family growing? Do you have in-laws? There's got to be something we discover and we can turn it into a benefit. People buy benefits. They don't buy features. So again, a fun game to, no matter what it is, walk up and say, my fork has 3 tines. I think that's a salad fork. You know what? That's an advantage to that because it grabs the lead. Whatever, find a benefit and get creative.
Right, like if you had a listing that had 2 bedrooms, right? Now, I think all of us on this call would agree that 2 bedrooms is less desirable than 3 in terms of value and its effectiveness in the market in terms of meeting the needs of a buyer pool. But if it had a 2-bedroom home, if you had a 2-bedroom home listed, I should say, and someone would ask you, why would I consider buying a 2-bedroom home? Well, lifestyles have changed. There are people that aren't having as big of families. That's a fact. I think you'll love what this builder had in mind when they built this, so that while there's only 2 bedrooms, they've allocated more space to the kitchen and to the living room, which is where you spend most of your time and where you entertain. So while it's a smaller home, I think you'll find as we go to look at this property that this builder really had some really great insight or had an objective to utilize the space that might meet with a more modern buyer need or modern familial need, right? Maybe an empty nester, right? You see where I'm going. There is a benefit there, but most of us, I think, would recoil at the fact, yeah, no, 2 is not better than 3 ever. I think so.
But I love yours. Yours is better than mine. I wouldn't have thought of that. Look, more space went into the areas we actually use, and that's a great benefit. Mine was going to be, do you enjoy your family? Do you enjoy your privacy? You know, with only 2 bedrooms, you have a lot less people coming and staying, less mother-in-laws, less. But either way, the point is to find a benefit and laugh while you're doing it.
There's a benefit there. And it's your job, if you represent whoever that client is, if the buyer was considering it because they really like it, but they're worried about the value, you have to be honest. Well, look, yes, it may not have, as compared square foot wise, you know, if you had 2 1,100 square foot homes, 3 bedroom, 2, chances are the 3 might carry a little more weight, but
we're just finding benefits.
Families are not as big. Fewer people are having larger, yada, yada, yada. And so the thing here is what's best for you. And I think you'll love the floor plan because the builder really had thought this out and decided to allocate the space here rather than creating an 8x8 for a room that no one's going to use.
I honestly think the builder had you in mind, Mr.
Right.
Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Look, what you've seen here, that there's a couple more quick ones, but all these things we're talking about, what you're really doing is practicing creativity, practicing being spontaneous. Spontaneous sounds like something that just should come off the top of your head at any point. It doesn't. Being good at being spontaneous with a client, asking the questions to get to their needs requires practice. And we can do it in the office with other agents and have fun. Okay.
Practice the feature benefit game on. You're going on a listing and a competitor's list to sell ratio is 104%.
I'm sorry?
I love so you're going out on a listing presentation and the seller's interviewing a broker from another company that has an average list to sell ratio of 104%. How are you going to handle that objection if your number is 98?
Well, we always clarify what's that mean, what's important about it. But then I would start talking about, well, I wonder if that's an indication of a high price or a very low list. Are they most interested in putting money in your pocket, or are they most interested in getting another one sold and making their stats look good? What I care about is my client and putting the most net money in their pocket, assuming that's what they said they wanted.
Yeah, I like that. And I also like you to have the presentation have a little inflection where you go, now I know what I'm up against. You know, when you look at that number, what I'd like you to think about for a second, if you knew what I knew, based on the fact that my competitor has sold 300 homes and they average that number, even in a market like this, what I'd like to ask you, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, is it even possible that they're being a little intellectually lazy with price? Meaning that they're undervaluing the home in such a way that every single listing they take over a period of time would go over the asking? My next guess would be that they're probably cutting their fee as well. And when they're doing that and that's the outcome, they are playing with the house's money. They don't have enough time or resources to find the right buyer and get you the highest amount of equity. They're playing a game, it's like a shell game where they're undervaluing the home. It's still wholesaling, but it looks as if they have this great performance when you have 300 homes all together collectively, which produce 104% average. Is that really the person you want to represent your home? Someone that would be so lazy in safeguarding your equity?
That's good, Steve. We got to be careful. Always be careful how you speak about other agents, of course.
No. Yeah, but I didn't call it
your benefit.
Yeah.
I want to teach the face, the look, but we're going to be out of time, so I'm going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw these last 2 games. These are great for teams, by the way, because these are go out and come back games. The first one is the negotiation game. We want to always be better at negotiating. Once a week, once every 2 weeks, have the team come together in the morning and say, today's negotiation day. Everything you do today, negotiate. Negotiate the cup of coffee, negotiate the bagel, negotiate your lunch. Ask the question, hey, how long has this been sitting here? Think I could get a 10% discount? Hey, I come in here 4 times a week. Could I get that coffee for? Doesn't matter what you're doing that day, you have to initiate negotiation just to see where it goes, just to get comfortable doing it. And then you come back at the end of the day, and the one who negotiated the best discount gets a win, and the one who has the funniest story gets a win. It's a group building exercise where we're actually getting better at asking for negotiations. The other one, real quickly, is the no game. Everybody goes out and sees how many no's they can collect. Because what are we doing? To collect a no, what do you have to be doing?
Asking the question.
Asking the question. Closing on business. So instead of looking for the no and the yes and feeling rejected over no's, go out and look for the no's. It changes the whole mindset. And same thing, come back at the end of the day, the team comes back together. Whoever collected the most no's gets a win, and whoever has the funniest story, the funniest no, gets a win. But it'll change how you view what you're doing when you start realizing that no's are valuable. No's mean that you're actually asking for business. We want to hear. And by the way, in real estate, all the no means is that that person is not currently suffering the painful, stressful disease of having to buy or sell a home. That's the problem we solve, right? That's the cure that we bring. And we're trying to find people suffering from that particular disease. So when someone says, no, I'm not selling my home, they're not rejecting you. They're saying, thankfully, I'm not afflicted with that current stress. You should say, thank goodness, that's fantastic. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're healthy. Let me go to the next one, because I just need to find this person that I can help with my cure.
You know, when I did Sweat Hog, Sean, back in 1989, I don't know if there was a cognitive awareness by the trainer, but it's funny how, like, just life happens and people just will say things based on their life experience, right? Or will train in such a way that it's all based on life. And it's the right answer, and they don't know that they're given like the perfect answer here. But here's what I'm saying. When I went into Sweat Hogs, the first 3 sessions were all about cold calling, and I couldn't stand it. But here's what I remember about those first 3 sessions. I'll never forget and always remember. You get it takes about 100 no's to get a yes. That was the dialogue. So in a way, right, they were setting you up, knowingly or unknowingly, wittingly or unwittingly, to accept that the target, they're planning your mind, you're going to have to get to 100 no's before you get the yes.
Right.
Versus you get a yes for 100 no's. Think of how that lands on you. You're like, oh shit, I don't want 100 no's. Who wants to go out and do that? You'd be like, nobody. So anyway, I think about that when you brought this up, and I saw that on the deck. It took me right back to that session. I remember it like it was yesterday. You'll get 100 no's before you get a yes. And so I knew what I was. They set you up for what you're running, what you're going to put your head into, which was that buzzsaw of no's. You know.
But it also makes your day much better. If you consider 100 no's a win, that's a lot easier than getting that one yes. I need 100 no's today. That's my goal. That's what I'm going after. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. I am having one hell of a day. Change the mindset.
Sounds crazy, but it's true.
Okay, we're over time. So Steve and I, as always, are going to stay behind for a few minutes if anybody has questions or wants to bring something up. But we want to be respectful of your time, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great, great Monday.
And a great week. Anybody have any, unmute yourself if you have any questions or anything you want to.
Yeah, come on screen, ask a question if you have anything.
I have one.
Oh, there's Joe.
Yeah, I was. It's interesting you were talking about getting to no's before I was just reading the book "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss, and he talks about getting no's first before you get 2 yeses, because it gives the person the feeling of control of the situation. So it's just interesting how, you guys were bringing that. I literally just finished reading that book like this week, or last week.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. His mindset is we need to have no's first. They need to feel they have some decision making here.
Right.
Success leaves clues, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he says, so when you call somebody and you're like, instead of saying, is now a good time? And they'll say yes, you say, is now a bad time? And they'll, no, it's fine. And then they feel like they're in control of what is going on. So he's like, lead with a no, and then you get to the yes after. So it's pretty interesting. You guys just brought that up. It's been in my mindset a lot right now. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. That's when you start getting the same answer from different places, that's when the universe is saying, use this. This works.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Polly Rogers. Good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Paulie.
That was really a great session. I just wanted to reconfirm where we can find the recordings. I want to get my team on your recordings if they're not on the live session.
These recordings are getting posted I can post them in the workplace,
San Diego.
the San Diego
region?
workplace. Right.
San
Right
Diego
now,
work-
San Diego, yeah, the general one.
Okay.
We'll
I'm
post
still
the link
learning
there.
around how to get around that. So I'll find them. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Past ones have
Wonderful.
been in the Mission Valley, I know. I happen to put them there just because that's my area, but yeah, we'll post them in the general one so anybody can get to them. That's a good
And
idea.
thank you for sharing, Polly. If anyone on the call knows of another agent that doesn't know about these sessions, I mean,
Oh, they're incredible.
we would love to, get our viewership up because that gives us more feedback to create better content.
Mhm.
I give all credit to Sean on this. These last two sessions have really come from his. No, they're very positive. I want to give you credit.
These are very mutual.
I think they're very good, and so all the credit goes to Sean here. But this variety comes from different experiences that he and I have, and it'd be great to get input from our agents, and so we can adapt to that, because I suspect that both Sean and I and the other managers here can help in getting content that you need, that you find valuable. So
Right. That's what we want. What exactly do you need right now?
There's no
Thank you,
one in this
Polly.
business that doesn't need everything on these calls.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you're too kind. Thank you, Paul.
There's something extra in your envelope this week.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's great.
All right.
Anybody else?
Good morning. This is Katie.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Katie.
I really enjoy this whole Monday morning huddle. In fact, beyond even agents, I tell my friends, sorry, I can't meet you. I've got my Monday morning huddle.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's pretty cool. I just wanted to, I wasn't sure right in the middle of all this, Sean, you said there was a book. It was like Why I Do. Is that what it was called?
Start with why.
Start with Why. Okay.
Simon Sinek, Sinek. Really good book.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I always like to throw the why. Like I think it's so important, not just in real estate, but just in life.
Right. In our own lives, right? To know
Right.
why we do what we do. Oh,
Yeah.
Katie, you're awesome. That's well, this book then is going to resonate with you.
Well, thank you very much, both of you. I always so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great week.
You too.
Thank you, Katie.
Bye.
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 All right.
Okay, I think we'll stop the recording then. Again,
sir.
thank you all for being here, and reach out if you have any questions this week. Hope it's an amazing one.
Great, everybody. See you.
Thank you guys again. Bye.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Sean.
Bye.